Silver threads among the gold. So, what we have today is a new age of exploration, basically. Because this whole like traveling to Mars thing, which when I was a kid seemed like on the horizon, no longer really seems on the horizon. Like in the original age of exploration, hundreds and hundreds of ships traveled the world, and all these people came back with stories about the new world. But that's not happening now. When I was a kid, it seemed like you're going to be an astronaut when you grew up. and all of us astronauts would hang out at the moon lounge, and well, that's not really happening. So we have a new age of exploration, which is different than it seemed like it was going to be, I think, because, in the 60s, they were taking all that acid and they were talking about expanding their mind and all this stuff. And it's not really that. It's more like I'll link No Solar down below. I'll link a few things down below. But what they're talking about is this, what seems to be a multi-layered afterlife with as many possible layers as there are people. Like everyone has their own heavenly home, so to speak. And it goes from lower to higher. It's brighter as you go higher. The first book to read, in my opinion, is Francezzo's Wanderer in the Spirit Land. And you start on chapter 2 where he says, dead. Chapter 1, he doesn't realize he's dead till the end of chapter 1. So chapter 2 is really where the fun begins. And he's in complete blackness, and he keeps moving up until he moves into a bright land. And this book was published in 1896, and if you're a reader of Swedenborg, you see a lot of Swedenborgian type imagery. So I think the author was a reader of Swedenborg, basically. And all these authors I refer to there's 4 of them. I'll link them below. I'll link 5 below because No Solar is the new one. No Solar is the 5th one. And I'll also say for any regular viewers that the 4 I originally referenced do not have reincarnation in them. They tell a story where you die and you're you and you're on your journey. Whereas No Solar, which is, they made a great movie of it in Brazil, and they've even made the sequel, The Messengers. No Solar is all about reincarnation. There's all kinds of reincarnation going on in No Solar. And this is the dividing line between what's called Spiritism and Spiritualism. So, as I understand it, Spiritualism, they do not believe in reincarnation, and Spiritism they do. But curiously, and different than us, which is Neo-Swedenborgianism, those guys are both pretty Christian. They're not entirely Christian, but there's a lot of Christian talk in all Spiritualism and Spiritism. Neo-Swedenborgianism, so where do we stand on reincarnation? Well, Neo-Swedenborgianism does not take a stand on that because we're in overview of all these things. We're observing all these things. So what does the Neo-Swedenborgian believe? The answer is we don't believe anything. Neo-Swedenborgianism is not a belief. It is not a faith. It is a rational observation and conversation about all this new material we have. So the age of exploration now is not like some weird acid trip. It's like Monsignor Hugh Benson waking up in his own house. He wakes up in a replica of his house. He lived in a house in England. He dies. He wakes up, and it's the perfect replica. It's not just exactly the same. It's way better. It never breaks. It never needs repairing. It never needs dusting or cleaning. The gutters aren't there because it never rains and all this stuff, right? So he meets Ruth and he explores with Ruth, and that's the book, what is that one called? Life in the World Unseen. Monsignor Hugh Benson. And so this age of exploration is not exactly nebulous anymore. It is not nebulous anymore. It is concrete. These people walk on streets, and if it's a gray, dismal street and it's an awful place, you can move up by going towards a light. Let's say there's a candle burning. Go towards that light. And then, anyway, the age of exploration is here, and it is the exploration of the spirit spheres that J. Hewitt Mackenzie drew a map of in 1916, in which James Van Allen discovered to exist in our magnetosphere above the clouds. So we're basically returning now to a new belief that mirrors the simple old-fashioned belief that our ancestors are up in the clouds somewhere. Great-grandma who died in 1960, up in the clouds, right? That's kind of old-fashioned folk belief of everybody's in the entire history of time. Well, now we see that that's not exactly correct, because they're not in the clouds, they're over the clouds. The Van Allen belts are way above the Earth's atmosphere. So there's the Earth's atmosphere where the clouds are, which is like an ocean of air, and we live on the bottom of this ocean of air. And when we fly our airplanes, they're flying in this ocean of air. They're not going out into space. That plane that's landing here cannot fly into the magnetosphere, cannot fly to the Van Allen belts, right? So now we're exploring it in a number of things. If you want to really go back, start reading Swedenborg, but that's kind of asking a lot because it's difficult to read. If you're interested in Swedenborg, there's a group, a YouTube page of Off the Left Eye, and they're great, but also Near-Death Experiences and the books I reference, and Spiritualism and Spiritism in general. Okay, well, thanks for listening. We're having a garage sale today. You're invited to come by. Thanks. See ya.